Hello everybody, good evening and welcome into DogZone. Andy McCook here to take you through the show where we look forward to Friday evening and the running of 3 heats of the Hat-Trick Classic. We also have 4 heats of the New Zealand Racing Series Sprint going around on Friday evening as well. Rozzo's on a well-deserved holiday at the moment. He's away for the next couple of weeks, so subbing in for him is Philippa Morris. Pip, pleasure to have you on the show and my opportunity to say a very good evening to you.
Yes, but great to be here, Andy, and come off the reserve bench. And well, Rozzo takes a well-deserved spell, and of course, talking about the first Group 1 of the new year, so very happy to be here today.
Yeah, certainly very exciting times. Speaking of the first Group 1, it is the Hat-Trick Classic. The heats on Friday evening. Here's a look at the final field futures market. This is option 620 and you can find this on tab.co.nz. Dinah Dave for Craig Roberts. He comes up a $4.20 favourite. Thrilling Talk for the Walsh team at $4.50. Diddley and Dynamonte both in single figures as well. Philippa, these are very even heats, probably some of the most even Group 1 heats I've seen, and makes it pretty tricky looking for something for a little bit of value in that futures market.
Certainly is. Diddley's probably ideally drawn in the heats, so $7.50, not the worst for him. Thought Avenger Bale at 12s was okay, as well as Nature's Gent, the Spion Rose winner, $12, not too bad. And then getting a little bit of value with some other dogs, but yes, you're right, it's a very even field, so it's going to be hard to see what really comes out on top. Even your favourite Dinah Dave outdrawn wide, a little bit of a question mark there, but yes, Roman Nozar could be a little bit of value there too. I know Angela Turnwald and Paul Freeman do think a bit of this dog, and he's at $21.
Of course, the final field futures top 3 market out for that as well. So some of those roughies, you can back them on an each way basis if that's what you like, and you can cover yourself with a place bet. Heat number 1 will be race 8 on Friday evening. This is due to get underway at 7:49, and Dinah Dave, he'll be favourite. He comes up with an awkward draw though in box number 7, Philippa, and he's certainly better on the fence, and he can be a little bit vulnerable at times when he draws wide.
He certainly can. That's my concern with him. He is slow away off the lids. And we know around Hat-Trick, going into that first bend, there's so much trouble all the time. He's going to have to get a clear run. We have seen in the past that he hasn't. Having a look here on screen, you can see he's in the green rug. This was at Ascot Park. Once again, he's slow away, Andy, but gosh, you could just watch him run home.
He's certainly got a big, powerful finish on him. He doesn't look the winner here till about 30 metres short of the post, and he put in his big, powerful finish. Philippa, we've seen him at Wanganui in the past. He was able to run past big-time Levi in one attempt there, breaking the 30 seconds, and it's no mean feat getting past that greyhound.
It certainly isn't. My concern here, if you look at the field, though, this race here, long straight at Ascot Park, that's the only difference with Hat-Trick, and like you said, he did do it on occasions with big-time Levi, but there's a couple of dogs in this race. He really would have to get a clear run and pick his way through the path, with Hat-Trick just being that little bit tighter track, and he still needs things to go his way.
Yeah, he certainly will. One of those greyhounds that he's going to have to try and get around will be Blazin' Audrey. She comes up with a half-handy draw in box number 4. Now, this is her fresh up off box number 6. Now, a couple of the greyhounds in here to watch as well. We've got Big Time Tears, the 1, Big Time Mia, the 7, and also Ginger Flash, the 5, all going around in this heat as well. So certainly well worth paying attention to those as well. Philippa, we know Blazin' Audrey, we know how much speed she has, and if she can find herself on the lure early, then she's going to give them all something to chase for a very long way.
Yeah, she comes off the lids well, Andy, I think you're right, and her run home here was actually faster than we'll see in the second heat. That's Idle Dude when he was winning at Hat-Trick. Just mentioning too, the 8, and this was Trojan Horse out in front there, and that's in another heat too later on. But yes, if she has a head in the game, we know that obviously she did go out for a spell, which was enforced. If she has her head in the game, she's certainly a dog that's got a lot of pace, and Dinah Dave would take a little bit to catch her, I think, Andy.
Another promising type that goes around in this heat, and he's an up-and-comer as well as the Karen Walsh prepared Thrilling Talk. He comes up with a half-decent draw here in box number 2. Now, of course, he won the Cambridge Classic there going back to his last start. This is him around Auckland. Now, I wanted to take you back to have a look at this to show that he can get around a 2-turn track, because obviously the majority of his form has been on a 1-bender. Philippa, this was a really nice field. He gets beaten in the end by Cameo Sid, who's an open grade performer. Others in here, obviously Ginger Flash and Ramblin' On, who goes around in a heat later on. But Philippa, Wanganui could suit this bloke. He draws up good, and if he can get on the early lead, then he's another one that'll give them something to think about.
Yes, well, he's unbeaten off box number 2 as well, 6 times, 6 wins. You know, his record's outstanding. He's only a young dog, 15 times, 13 wins. I think he's could be a little bit of a test to a couple of favourites in this field. And knowing Karen Walsh, I'd say he's been to the track. He's probably had a trial, so it's not going to be the first time he's seen it either. And he definitely comes up with the right draw to put himself right in this.
Another one in the race is Big Time Tears. Comes up with an awkward draw in box number 5, but Philippa, she was a good winner too. Back best of the day figures. She didn't pick the jump at her last start, but gee, she's another one who, if she gets on the lure, she's got plenty of pace.
She does, Andy. She's probably not the same dog that she was 3 to 4 months ago. I think I'd probably have her right in the mix, you know, back then. But like you say, 2 starts ago, she did jump off and she did win and did clock the best time of the day. But I still don't think she's the same dog that she was, you know, 3 months ago. So you'd want to see her back to her best to take out this heat.
Heat number 2 for the Hat-Trick Classic will be race number 9 on the card. This one due to get underway at 8:20. And again, it's a very even field. Obviously, Blazin' Carter will come out of this, and that'll allow Corborn Liz in. Some of the visitors, Dynamonte won't mind the wide draw. Ramblin' On's got a big finish on her. And Philippa, this is probably one of the most even of the 3 heats.
Yes, I was trying to sort it out myself when having a look at it. And Idle Dude, he's been racing really well for Marcy Phillip. Trojan Horse as well. Tends to have a bit of box speed too, and I think that's going to help Trojan Horse. Obviously just holding on out of Hat-Trick last Friday, Andy, but you're right, it's certainly probably the evenest field of the lot.
We're going to take you back to have a look at Idle Dude, his last start where he was a winner at Wanganui. Now, you're looking for the dog in the pink rug of box number 8 here. Others to pay attention for, Romano Zar is the 2 dog. We've got Zipping Cobra, who goes around in these heats as well, and Big Time Kiss, who goes around in heat number 1, who had box number 3. Philippa, this fella's really come of age of late since stepping up over the 500 metres. His second 2 back in behind Nature's Gent, the sub 30, was solid, and if he can get some early room, which he should, then he's a big chance.
Yes, there's not a lot of box speed either in this race. We know he's a little bit slow away, but yes, he just keeps hitting the line well. His sections, obviously Big Time Wendell set them up, but he ran home in an 11.80, and with her back 18.43 for him to make ground, that was huge. Idle Dude. And Marcy Phillip, she keeps making these finals with dogs and not getting the win. Hopefully this year, maybe with Idle Dude, she's got a good chance.
She certainly has been having a good run of late, and with her 2 sprinters as well that are in the top grade, and it'll be good to see her get a little bit of cash in this race. So another one going around here is Dynamonte for Craig Roberts. He was able to be victorious in a heat of the Spee on Rose. He's off box number 5 here. You can see here that wantingness just to get away from the fence a little bit, Philippa. So he comes up with box number 8, which will suit him right down to the ground.
Certainly will, Andy, and like I said, there's not a lot of box speed. He shows it. I think it's going to come from Dynamonte and Trojan Horse. If he does what he did here off box number 5, swoops around them, no reason that he can't take out this heat either. And he's not at the worst money for the futures. If he draws the right box in the final as well, if he makes it through the heat, could be a little bit of value for Dynamonte.
He's certainly an underrated type, Dynamonte. He was 4th in that Spee on Rose final behind Nature's Gent. He's a dog with a little bit of speed. We've seen him. He was also in that Dyna Dave race where he was only beaten a neck by a nose in a pretty handy field down there at Invercargill. So certainly off box number 8, he gets his opportunity to get the whistle on round them into that first turn and try and put them away from there. Philippa, another greyhound with a big motor, is Big Time Levi. He's probably better off drawn away from the rail, but he's got a big finish on him, and if he can get some clear air, he'll be hitting the line strong late in the piece.
Yes, what you spoke about when Dyna Dave got him, you know, quite a while back there at Hat-Trick. He did lead out, he had that immense speed, and you know we can do it too, but you're right, he probably does prefer to be outside of the track. He just doesn't tend to do the same from the inside boxes, but he's a class animal, and I think in an even field, if he gets the right run, no reason he won't be in the mix as well. Like I said, Andy, it's just so hard to, he's probably about 5 winning chances in this heat.
Just one more greyhound I want to touch on here, Ramblin' On. She's been in super form around Auckland. She ventured away to Addington for a look down there, and she was pretty fair on that occasion. But Philippa, the outside fence at Wanganui, fairly similar to the outside fence at Auckland, which could be an aid to her. And gee, she can put in some barnstorming finishes when she gets the right sort of run at them as well.
Yes, and it's actually the first time she's come up with box number 7 as well. So interesting for her. She goes well from box number 8. I think you're right. Monaco and Hat-Trick Raceway, they'd have to be the closest tracks as far as each other, and I don't think she's going to mind it there. And yeah, I think maybe hopefully Dynamonte, as that's the only question mark, probably won't jump and cross her. That's what you're not going to want. It's a thing for me. Hat-trick, it's very hard when you're coming across into that first bend with all dogs wanting inside, outside, and it's a tight little angle. That's the only query for me.
Yeah, it certainly is. Heat number 3 for the Hat-trick Classic will be race number 10 on the card, and this one is due to get underway at 8:50 p.m. Diddley draws up beautifully in box number 1. We've got Tyson's Quest asking Jeff in there, Nature's Gent who comes up with an awkward draw, and of course Avenger Bale who travels up for Craig Roberts. We're going to take you back to Nature's Gent. This is him winning off box number 6. This is his attempt 2 starts back when he broke the 30 seconds. Philippa, he came out really well on this occasion, and once he led it was tea and toast for the rest of them, but box 8 can be a little bit awkward for him, and he's yet to win off that in 9 attempts.
You said it, Andy. He hasn't won off box number 8, and that's my real query with him. He did fly off box number 6 though, and he doesn't tend to crash down. He kind of keeps his line, so if he does that, I still don't think, that $12 in the futures, I don't think you can discount him. He's certainly back to his best at the moment, Nature's Gent, and off that run, a couple of boxes out, you'd still, probably put him in.
And he's a proven Group 1 performer as well, and we touch on this every time we have a Group 1, that it's just a different feeling for these greyhounds, and handlers feel different and the crowd's all different, and at least he knows what Group 1 racing is all about. Another greyhound going around in here is Avenger Bale. We're going to take you back to his most recent placing. This is him off box number 2. You can just see him stumble at the start there, and he ends up getting home late in the piece. He only gets beaten around 3 lengths here by a couple of speedy types, and Dinah Wazza and Dinah Dave. And Philippa, if he can get off the cans all right, the wide draw certainly not going to concern him, and he's very capable of getting into a field like this.
No, well, we know he likes the track, and yes, he has probably been a bit slow off the lids in his last 3 or 4 starts. It's unusual for him. He's usually quite a jumper, but the thing I do like about him is he's not a lot of speed around him. Nature's Gent kind of keeps his line. Zipping Cobra likes to head down towards the rail. So if he can hop off the lids off box number 6, he should get a clear run, and that's what you want for Avenger Bale. He is a dog that he doesn't like to be crowded. Most times if something bumps him, he goes, okay, I'll give you the lead. I think in this race he's not going to have too much trouble with any animals coming down on him, and if he gets to the front, I don't think he's going to be beaten, Andy. We know how good he is and how strong he is. I mean, he runs over 700 metres plus.
Exactly, and the other thing, Philippa, we've seen him be victorious at Wanganui as well. Of course, he took out the amazing Chase Consolation, and gee, he was impressive on that occasion.
He certainly was, and he flew off the lids, Andy, and race was over. So I think if the lids open, box 6 comes out first, I think I'll be running to the tote. As far as Avenger Bale, there's not a lot of strong dogs that are going to peg him back.
Potentially the best drawn greyhound in the field is Diddley. He comes up with box number 1 for this, and we're going to take you back to the running of the Spion Rose. Now obviously this was taken out by Nature's Gent. He's in the white rug of box number 3, Diddley in the blue rug here of box 4, and Philippa, this was a really nice run from him, and he comes up with the draw. He should get a cosy little sit early. There's not a lot there to cut him off into the turn, and we certainly know he's good enough to get into it with the right run.
He is, and I think if there's a dog that's got the best draw out of the heats, it's certainly him, Diddley. He wants the rail. Gosh, he just cuts down ever so hard. So Paul and Angela would have to be happy with him having box number 1, brings him right into contention. He's shown how good he is. He went down to Addington. He beat a good field there. I think he gets his chance to really show what he's made of here, Andy.
He certainly does. The other dog there to take note of obviously was Dinah Monty. He was in the red rug of box number 1, and he was cost 3rd there by cutting off heels halfway up the straight, so worth going back and having a look at that as well. So there's another look. Dinah Davey certainly deserves to be favourite at $4.20. The 2 probably best drawn though, Philippa, Thrilling Talk and Diddley, and $4.50, $7.50 a piece for them. Probably not bad money.
No, I think you're right there, Andy. Like you say, Dinah Dave, I've made no queries about saying that he's my favourite dog, and I do think he's probably for Dinah Dave, I think because how he is slow, he can probably swoop around, and it's not the worst draw for him, so $4.20 is good, but we've just seen it time and time again. He goes out favourite, he goes to hat-trick, and then he blows it at the start, gets a check, and he can't recover. And like you say, those dogs with the ideal draws. I do like Avenger Bale. I think $12 for him off box 6. I can see him leading and winning in the heat, so I do like him in the futures at 12, Sandy.
Let's look at the Hat-trick Classic, the 3 heats coming up on Friday evening. We're going to go to a quick break here now on DogZone. On the other side, we'll have a bit of a bo peep through the New Zealand Racing Series Sprint Heats. Welcome back into DogZone. Also on Friday evening at Wanganui, we will see the running of 4 New Zealand Racing Series sprint heats, and the first of these gets underway. It's race number 4 on the card, and it's due to go at 5:49. Here's a look at the field, obviously highlighted by Big Time Blue down the bottom, who's a class act resuming from spell. Big Time Victory in the mix. Big Time Jetty's an up-and-comer, so Philippa certainly looks like the Big Times have a stranglehold on this one, and Blue returning from a break, and geez, a class act when he's on.
Yeah, certainly is, Andy. Big Time Blue probably on top for me in this. Resumes today. Gets an ideal draw too, I think, from out in box number 8. Jumps, swoops around them. You know, he's obviously probably been trialling there at the track, I would say. So he'll come back in nice and a fresh state, and I think he can win this. But there is a couple of other chances in it, Andy. You touched on the newbie coming up in the grades, which is, of course, Big Time Jetty. 3 wins in a row, shooting for another. But this is the biggest test now, coming against some Class 5 dogs.
Yeah, certainly is a big step up for him. Big Time Victory off an inside draw. She should be able to beat the one dog early, and she should get a little bit of room to move as well, and certainly has some speed. Heat number 2 for the New Zealand Racing Series sprint will be race number 5 on the card. It's due to get underway at 6:22 p.m. Certainly highlighted here by Big Time Pete. He's a class act on his way up, and he's hit C5. Philippa, he went around on Monday at the Manawatu. He had an awkward draw. He missed the kick, which he can do at times, and he paid the price for that with Basher getting him early. But he just seems to pick the kick better here at Wanganui, and gee, if he can get on the lure and run a 17:30, I don't think there's anything here that's going to be beating him.
Yes, he certainly is a good dog. Most boxes, though, he's won most out of box 8, 3 for 3. He has never done really much from the inside draws apart from box number 2, so squeeze draw here. Like you say, he is the class animal. You know, I didn't actually mind the 1, Ginger Lauren. She finally gets a good box draw, box number 1 after some time. She's a dog that can fly off the lids, and even for a place, I think she could be a sneaky little value bet.
And Marcy Flip's got her pretty handy little sprinter in there as well, another up-and-comer, and Idle Nifty's won 4 from 14 around here, 17:46 is best, and of course he was in the Dash for Cash final and placed in that, so he's certainly good enough to get into this. Heat number 3 on for the New Zealand Racing Series sprint on Friday evening will be race number 6 on the card, and this one's due to get underway at 6:49, and this is a very even affair. Big Time Pearl, Big Time Basher, probably the best of them off box number 2, and Philippa Al's apprentice off the back of a couple of thirds to Sir Dougie, so he'll certainly notice a difference in class here. Yes,
like you say, Lisa Cole's probably got the most in the field, but I actually think Windy Kite's got a good chance. Andy, you're right there with Al's apprentice. Not the worst draw. He does go well off the squeeze box of 5, and he's been racing against Sir Dougie, like you say, and actually placing. He's got to find this easier, I think, and Wendy's got a good chance in this as well. But like you say, there's a few others in the field. You're right with the 2, Big Time Basher has drawn ideally, and he's downgrading too back into C4, and now in New Zealand Racing Series has to find it easier, Andy.
Yeah, he certainly does. Heat number 4 for the New Zealand Racing Series will be race number 7 on the card. This one's due to get underway at 7:20, and again a very even affair. Big Time Wendell, who was an impressive winner on Monday at the Manawatu. Victoria Vickers up for the Roberts team, who's been flying over the 500 metres of late, and you've got Idle Hot in there for Marcy Flip as well, and the chances certainly don't end there, Philippa, but Big Time Wendell, if she can pick the jump, the sprint journey, certainly right up her alley, and if she can get out to where she wants to be, she's got to be a big chance.
Yes, this is the first time she's been over the 305 metres since the 6th of April 2018, but you can see why when she goes around in those 520s and she clocks sectionals like 491, 494, so in a sprint, if she gets off the lids like that, Andy, you know she's strong over the 305 metres. She will be hard to beat. The dog for me, though, I do like Victoria Vickers. She come to hat-trick 4 times and she never drew any closer in than box 5, so she's certainly got the visitors' jaws. She hasn't this time, and I think she could be a little bit of value. She's not a bad dog, actually, and coming up with box number 1 off some nice form, don't mind her.
She's certainly been able to run some quick times to the back mark at Addington over the 500 metre journey, and like you touch on, off that handy draw of box number 1 puts her right into contention. Here's a look at the final field futures market for this. Big Time Wendell favourite $4.50, Big Time Pete $5. Gee, Philippa, that seems really good money for mine. If he picks the jump like he has been doing of late at Wanganui, gee, I'm not sure there's anything here can beat him.
I have a feeling you quite like Big Time Pete, Andy, and yes, so $5, not bad money. You know, I don't mind Idle Hot for Marcy Flip. Her dogs go quite well at hat-trick as well, and $9 isn't the worst, but yes, you're right, Big Time Pete, the Coles, they do have a good hand in this race as well. Idle Nifty at $14, he's another that could surprise, and Owl's Apprentice 18s. If you like something rough, I think Owl's Apprentice could step up in the heats.
Yeah, certainly could, and obviously Victoria Vick is going to be at big money there on an each-way basis as well, one of Philippa's picks through those heats. Last Wednesday at Wanganui is usually a low-grade day, well, was a low-grade day, and there's not usually a lot that comes out of it, but how about this? Dyna Boomer went around, he rolled a short-price $1.40 favourite in the form of Thrilling Amigo. Philippa, this was only a Class 1 520 metre race, but to be fair, to think this is Dyna Boomer's second win in New Zealand and his first win at Wanganui in 29 attempts is just phenomenal.
It certainly is. He came over with such a big rap, Andy, and he's a big dog and they expected things. I mean, he ran a 29.34 around Sandown, which is flying. He did a 29.88 at the Meadows, so I say Craig Roberts probably thought he's got this champion dog and take nothing away from him, but I almost wonder because he's just so big. I mean, I've handled the dog before and I could almost stand over him and hardly touch the ground. Not the tallest person in the world. He's just I don't know, maybe he found the tracks a bit tight turning, Andy, but finally gets that well-deserved win, and I'm happy to see it too.
Certainly was. This race we're showing now on screen is a heat of the Melbourne Cup. He's box number 2 in this, and he gets beaten in nose. This was 9 starts before he came to New Zealand. If you watch him here on the home turn, he's about to cut up the fence, checks off heels. He cops another check here shortly, cutting back in, and he gets beat in nose. Philippa, this is to get him into the Melbourne Cup. He's just won a C1 at Wanganui.
It's incredible, and he would have won, Andy. He would have won that race. If you were a punter, you'd be like, certainty beat. My dog went inside, outside. You almost want a monkey on his back to try and steer him on that occasion. And like you say, 9 starts before he come to New Zealand, and he finally gets that win at hat-trick, now for trainers Kettlewell Phillips. So, yes, you finally have to give that honourable mention to Dyna Boomer.
Yeah, he certainly deserves a mention, there's no doubt about that. Another dog that went around last week was Soaring Hawk, and again, it might seem that there's nothing odd about that, but this is her winning at Nowra. Of course, she was an open grade chaser here in New Zealand. She's gone back to Australia with Greg Hoare, and Philippa, she gets the job done here in an open grade race at Nowra over the 65 metres.
It was good to see some of our Kiwi forms sticking up, even if it is at Nowra, and good to see Greg Hoare go back over to Australia and get a win, Andy. And yeah, she did well. Off the boxes, pretty much what we say here. Box speed is gold in greyhound racing. She showed it there and gets a well-deserved win.
She always had a little bit of early speed as well and was hard to get past when she did land on the lure, and she showed that there around Nowra. Tomorrow at Cambridge we will see a running of the New Zealand Racing Series graduation final over the 457 metres at Cambridge. Philippa, a really good little field of up-and-comers here. Big Time Leads a fast dog. Tian Yu on his way to open grade, as is Big Time Rod, and sub-18's quick as well. So this is a really nice field and one well worth tuning in for to watch.
Yes, it is. I like Big Time Leads off the Ace Alley box. Just getting a bit tongue twisted there. Off the Ace box, it was 6 times, 2 wins, 3 placings. Lisa Cole do like Big Time Leads, but like you say, sub-18, 2 out wide there. I think Lisa Cole's got a good hand in this, the visitors, to take out the New Zealand Racing Series final, but there's still a couple of locals, I'd say, that'll be probably disagreeing with me, Andy.
Yeah, certainly is a good little field, there's no doubt about that, and I'd say they'll run a bit of time in that as well. There's a couple there capable of getting on the lure early and running time in front, dogs like Tian Yu with a bit of strength behind them, so going to be a really good final, no doubt about that. Well, last week we introduced the punting side of DogZone, and this is how we fared for the week between the mighty Rozzo and myself. Ginger Mongo getting the job done for Bet of the Week. Their tradition, big run from him. He's a really nice up-and-comer, and when he gets over ground, he's going to be really strong. Shatinatin, just a fair third, but got into the money, and it's good to see Rozzo get his best home as well there with Monster Fish. 3 seconds there for him as well with Blazin' Audrey, Butterball and Van Jack. So obviously, Rozzo's out this week. Philippa, that means you're in. Pressure's on. Where are we going?
Well, I've started off with Now So Ellen out of Addington. I think it's the best bet of the week for me, Andy. She comes up with the right draw. Box number 1 in race number 5. She last start winner where she clocked a 16.94, so she can fly. It's a good field, but I do think she can win off the ace Ellie once again. Downgrader for me, Big Time Mini. Been really unlucky up in the higher grade. Gets the right race here, race number 11. Don't think it's a very strong field. Think she can bounce back to winning form and go straight back up a grade. Big Time Blue, like we touched on in the heats, back from a spell. I think he can win from box number 8. The Improver, Idle Nifty, also in the heats. If you watch his last 3 starts, he's just had absolutely no luck. Probably strikes a field that he can come out and I think can win, Idle Nifty. And then the new kid in town, yes, that's Disclaimer, previously racing around Addington and Ascot Park, having its first start up in Manukau for trainer now Thane Green. Downgraded from a C4, C3 into a C2, so I think he strikes the right field as well on Sunday.
Beautiful. All those look like big chances as well there. We've had to extend the show to an hour today just to get through all of my selections because this is getting out of control already. Make sure you go and get your binoculars so you can sit on your couch and actually read these. Cambridge on Thursday, the multi-maker Robson for the Ferguson team. Gee, he was impressive first up last week. He got the job done. I'd expect him to do the same. Unfortunately for Team Ferg, I'm putting the pressure on them as well with Rumble Soldier. He drew wide last week, which he does again today, but tomorrow on Thursday. But there doesn't appear to be much early speed there, and I can see him getting across them. Thursday at Addington, a couple of dogs really well drawn here, this and Fired Up Jasper. They both come up with box number 1 and they look hard to beat. A massive downgrade in class for Kiakatu Fever goes around in race number 2 and a super draw for her as well. She should be going very close to winning. Fresh up, Loco Lola. She's a very talented little sprinter on the rise as Loco Lola, and I can see her getting the job done. It's a danger. It's all right, guys, I'm running out of breath here. But it's a danger, the fast finisher. Goes around in race 10 at Auckland on Sunday. Should get a nice little run along the rail, and from there he could be too strong for them. Rozzo threw out Van Jack last week, and gee, what a run it was from him. That was a black book effort. If he can get half a sniff at the Merley, looks hard to beat. Tough night downgrades to C1. He looks hard, drawn box number 7 and a 457. And probably the unluckiest runner of last week was Tommy the Jet. He was an absolute certainty beat. He copped all sorts of trouble down the back straight. He flicked out 4 or 5 wide on the home turn, and he was storming home late to be beaten a short margin. We're going to head back to you now, Philip, because I'm nearly out of breath and we're all but done here on DogZone. So thank you very much for your input. And if I don't tip a couple of winners out of that 10, then I'm probably not coming back next week.
I was going to say, you gave yourself plenty of chances. Probably next week you'll sit there with 4 winners. But don't forget, guys, he had about 10 chances there. No, it's been very good to be here, Andy. And I will look forward to coming back next week and hopefully seeing how many you go home.
Next week, I'm only tipping 2. I tell you, I can't be bothered reading through all of that again. That's just about killed me. That's it from us here at DogZone. We'll be back next week with more reviews and previews of greyhound racing from around the country. But until then, happy punting.